I'm currently working, and I recall something that happened back in my first year of senior secondary school. I was working from home one day when I happened to meet an ex classmate from my junior secondary school. And so I woke up to him very enthusiastically and asked him, "Oh, where has he been hiding?" And he gives me this look of bewilderment, like pure shock. I think that he couldn't believe I was approaching him. I don't know why. But he goes on to tell me that he had transferred to a new school. And so I asked him, why did you leave? You have a lot of friends. And he looks right at me and tells me that it's because of you and your other two friends that I left. That he felt bullied, he felt a kind of way, and so we were partially responsible for the reason he left. And I was so stunned, bullied, like, sure, we had our disagreement, but bullied. And so the only words that I could muster, or it's not muster, the only words I could apologize with, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize, it wasn't my intention, basically all of those things. And so when I got home that day, I couldn't stop scanning my memories, because someone doesn't tell you that kind of thing about yourself, that you made them feel bullied and you're comfortable with yourself, or you're comfortable with your identity. And so I kept thinking, what did I do? What did I say that made him feel that way? And that was when it hit me, because I recall a major incident that started the disagreement with him. So one day I had briefly stepped out and of the class, and upon coming back, I realized that he had read my diary and disclosed some of the content to a few of his friends. And so when I found out, I had this very explosive reaction, like any 12-year-old preteen, extroverted child would have. And so I called him every name in the book of insult that I had. And from that day, I became a bit unfriendly to him because he wasn't apologetic. And I think that in his own defense, he did not apologize because he felt that I had insulted him so much in public. And so there was no need for that. I was fine with that. Good morning. But I was still a bit unfriendly to him. And my friends naturally being my friends, like any preteen girls would treat him in a similar way, because they were also unfriendly to him. I'm a bit out of breath, guys. Because to me, he had violated my privacy. But unknown to us, my extreme reaction and the lingering unfriendliness or hostility towards him had given us, or given me specifically, this identity of a villainous bully in his eye and in the eye of a few of his friends. And now I'm taking a walk and I'm tracing back through the years, and I realized something very absurd. Well, something funny, maybe not something funny, but something troubling, because before I met him that day, we were cordial. Like, he didn't leave on bad terms when he left the class with me. But, we did have a few disagreement after that incident, but we were still cordial. So I was thinking that even though that had happened, why did I affirm his narrative that I was a bully when my offense towards him was purely reactive? And I would even dare say a defense mechanism against something that he and his friends had brushed off as innocent play. And it made me also realize how effortlessly we as human beings can simultaneously be the victim and the villain in the exact same story. And don't get me wrong, I know that people who are inherently malicious in thoughts and actions, people who are actually bullies, may God help those ones. But I'm talking to normal human beings. I'm talking about normal human beings who are privileged enough to interact and form relationships and form acquaintances and be friends. You will at some point be both. You'll be the victim and you'll be the villain. And it'll keep interchanging as long as different perspectives and human flaws exist. Because we as humans are so fundamentally imperfect that it's almost impossible to navigate life without accidentally ending up on the wrong side of someone else's story. And so that's why I try to give grace to people and try not to define myself for them by a single narrative. You know, as much as his feelings and perspective were justified, so mine too felt justified. So where does one draw the line? Bye guys. I'm out of breath.